Good morning, students. Today in science, we are going to learn about digestion in humans. Okay, so let's start. It basically starts from mouth, that is from buccal cavity, and its end on anus. Okay, when so basically whole digestion process takes place with five major steps. That is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and ejection. Ingestion is taking in of food. Digestion is breaking down of food. Absorption is when the food enters the blood. And assimilation is when the food is carried by the blood vessel and utilized by our body. And the end is ejection. Ingestion means taking out of undigested food, throwing out of undigested food. Okay, so now basically over here, as you can see, the whole canal can be divided into various components, and that are buccal cavity, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, which is ending in rectum, and anus. These parts together form the alimentary canal, which is also known as digestive tract. Okay, so let's start. As you know that food intake in human being as is through mouth, and this is also known as ingestion. Okay, now when a food entered into our mouth, our teeth help us to break that food into simpler ones. Okay, so it breaks the food mechanically into small pieces, and also there is presence of saliva. So during chewing, food mixes up with saliva, which is secreted from salivary gland. So basically, salivary gland is located below the jaw between the tongue and the teeth. So from there, saliva secretes and it mixes up with food. Saliva converts starch in food into sugars, and also it softens the food. Now, in our mouth, each tooth is rooted in a separate socket in the gums. Our teeth vary in appearance and perform different functions. In this picture, you can see the arrangement of the teeth. The teeth which are there in the front are known as incisor, and after that are canine, and after that are premolar and molar. There is different types of teeth, and they plays a different role. The teeth in the front are incisor. They help for the cutting and biting. Then comes canine, which helps for tearing. Then molar and premolar, which helps for chewing and grinding. Okay, so these are the functions performed by different set of teeth. Now, after that, there is tongue. Tongue is a fleshy muscular organ attached at the back to the floor of the buccal cavity. It is free at the front and can be moved in all directions. And also, taste of the food can be detected by the taste buds present on the tongue. Taste buds are present in different regions on our tongue, which help us to enjoy different taste. In this image, you will get to know about the different taste buds present on the tongue. As you can see, taste buds appear as small bumps on the tongue. So in this picture, you can see that taste bud present in the front of the tongue helps to enjoy sweet taste of the food. And after that, the taste bud just present after the front sweet bud that can taste salty, and after that sour, and at the back at the end of the tongue it is of bitter. So basically these are the regions of the tongue for different taste. After this, when the saliva mix up with the food, it also helps the food to easily get swallowed. After that, the food enters to our food pipe, that is esophagus. Okay. Now the food is pushed down by the movement of the wall of the food pipe. This movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal. Now the food enters to our stomach. The stomach is a thick-walled bag. Its shape is like a flattened J, and it is the widest part of our alimentary canal. It receives food from the food pipe at one end and opens into the small intestine at the other end. Now the food enters into the stomach, mixes up with mucus, hydrochloric acid, and digestive juices. Basically, the inner lining of the stomach secretes the mucus, hydrochloric acid, and digestive juices. All the three plays a different role on digestion of food. Basically, the mucus protects the inner lining of the stomach. The acid kills many bacteria that enters along the food and makes the medium in the stomach acidic and helps the digestive juices to act. Then the digestive juice breaks down the proteins into simpler substances. Then after that the food is emptied into the small intestine. Small intestine is highly coiled and is about 7.5 meter long. It receives secretion from the liver and pancreas. So as soon as the food mixes up or enters into small intestine, the digestive juices get secreted from liver and pancreas. So let's start with liver first. The liver is a reddish brown gland situated in the upper part of the abdomen on the right side. It is the largest gland in the body. It secretes bile juice that is stored in a sac called gallbladder. The bile plays an important role in the digestion of fat. Now comes pancreas. The pancreas is a large cream-colored gland located just below the stomach. It secretes pancreatic juice which acts on carbohydrates, fats and proteins and changes them into simpler forms. The partially digested food now enters the lower part of the small intestine where the intestinal juice completes the digestion of all the components of the food. Here, the carbohydrates get broken into simpler sugars such as glucose, fats into fatty acid, and proteins into amino acid. Now, the food consumed is digested and is now ready to absorb into the blood. Now, the process of absorption of food is held in small intestine. The digested food can now pass into the blood vessels in the wall of the intestine. This process is called absorption. The inner wall of the small intestine have thousands of finger-like outgrowths and they are called villi, as you can see in this image. The villi increases the surface area for absorption of digested food. Each villus has a network of thin and small blood vessels close to its surface. Thus, the surface of villi absorb the digested food materials. The absorbed substances are transported via the blood vessel to different organs of the body where they are used to build complex substances such as the proteins which is required by our body. This process is called assimilation. In the cells, glucose breaks down with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. Now, the undigested and unabsorbed food enters to the large intestine. Large intestine is wider than shorter than small intestine. It is about 1.5 meter in length. Its function is to absorb water and some salts from the undigested food material. And then it passes the remaining waste into the rectum. Here in rectum, it remains there as a semi-solid feces. Now, after that, The matter is removed through the anus from time to time, and this process is known as ejection. So basically, as we have discussed in the starting of the video, that whole digestion process takes place into 5 different parts. That is ingestion, which is taking in of food. Then comes digestion, which is breaking down of food. Then comes absorption, which in which food enters to the blood, and then assimilation. In that case, food is carried by the blood vessels throughout our body, and then in the last come ejection. Through that, undigested food gets thrown out. So students, this is the whole process how a food gets digested in human system, digestive system.